My 7-year-old daughter Maya stood quietly at the edge of the room, dressed in the sparkly gold dress she had picked out all by herself. She held a small wrapped gift box tightly in her hands. Around her, the room buzzed with laughter, clinking glasses and warm chatter. Everyone seemed too distracted to notice her, except for me. I was watching everything. Maya's eyes stayed fixed on Evelyn, her grandmother, who sat near the fireplace surrounded by decorations and doting grandchildren. Maya didn't speak, not at first. Then she took one step forward, raised the small box slightly, and said in a soft, clear voice, "Grandma, Dad told me to give this to you if you ever ignored me again." The room froze. A fork stopped midair. Someone's laughter died in their throat. Evelyn looked up with a confused smile, as if trying to turn it into a joke. She reached for the box and slowly began to open it. The moment the lid lifted, a sharp scream tore from her mouth. Loud, raw, and full of something deeper than surprise. Guests rushed toward her. Some gasped. Others exchanged worried glances. But I didn't move. I already knew what was in the box. My husband, Daniel, had prepared it months ago. He told me it was for the day Evelyn finally went too far. That day was today. But to understand what led to this moment, the scream, the silence, the shock, we have to go back. Back to when Maya started becoming invisible in a room full of love, or at least what looked like it from the outside. When I married Daniel, I thought I was joining a big, warm family. They were loud, cheerful, always organizing holiday brunches, birthday cookouts, and game nights. Evelyn, Daniel's mother, was at the center of it all. She had a commanding voice and a strong opinion about everything. I respected her. I even admired her. At first, she welcomed me with open arms. She smiled at dinners, complimented my cooking, and hugged me goodbye like I belonged. But over time something changed. The compliments faded. The smiles became tighter. I started noticing things, little things. I wasn't included in family group messages. Evelyn would comment about how I didn't quite fit in, how I had different values, how I wasn't like the women in their family. It was subtle at first, almost unnoticeable. I told myself I was imagining it. Then Maya came into the picture. She's my daughter from a previous marriage. Daniel met her when she was 2. He didn't hesitate. He stepped in with a kindness and love that made me fall in love with him even more. When we got married, he adopted her legally. We never used the word step in our home. She was his daughter, completely and unquestionably. But Evelyn never accepted that. She played the part at first. She gave Maya a birthday card, brought a toy on holidays, but the difference in how she treated her compared to the other grandkids was always obvious. Maya didn't get invited to cousin sleepovers. She wasn't part of the matching pajama photos on Christmas Eve. She'd sit quietly during family events while Emma and Liam, her cousins, got all the attention. Evelyn would call Emma her little angel and buy Liam the latest sports gear. Then she'd hand Maya a plastic bracelet or a coloring book she clearly hadn't even wrapped herself. Maya noticed. Course she did. Kids always do. I tried to explain it away. I told her that Grandma just forgot sometimes, that maybe she loved her in a different way. But every year, it became harder to protect Maya from the truth. One Thanksgiving, Evelyn gave each grandchild a personalized ceramic plate with their name painted in gold. Maya's seat was set with a plain white plate from the back of the cupboard. That night, Maya leaned in and whispered, "Maybe she thinks I'm just visiting." My heart cracked. Daniel heard it too. He didn't say anything, but his jaw tightened. That was the first time I saw him begin to understand. Still, we kept showing up. I told myself it was for the bigger picture. For Maya to grow up with memories, cousins, family. I told myself that love didn't need matching pajamas or expensive gifts. But deep down I was lying. I stayed quiet because I didn't want to start a war. I didn't want Daniel to feel trapped between his mother and his wife. I thought I was being strong. I thought I was protecting Maya. But I was teaching her something dangerous. That being left out was something she had to accept. That being quiet was better than speaking up. The arguments started to creep in. Quiet arguments behind closed doors. I told Daniel what I saw. He said he noticed but didn't know how to fix it. He didn't want to hurt his mother. I asked him, "What about Maya?" He had no answer. As Christmas approached, I felt emotionally worn down. I packed matching outfits, baked extra cookies, wrapped gifts for everyone. I told myself, maybe this year will be different. But I wasn't hoping anymore. I was waiting, watching, preparing for the moment when silence would no longer be kindness. That moment came when Evelyn gave Emma a new iPad. Then she kissed Liam's cheek and handed him a thick envelope of cash. Finally, she turned to Maya, handed her a lavender candle and said with a smile, "Didn't want you to feel completely left out." That was when Daniel looked at me. He didn't blink, didn't speak, but something changed in his expression. And I remembered. Box. The one he had told Maya about. The one he packed months ago. The box had sat in Daniel's closet for months. Wrapped in simple red paper, no ribbons, no tags, no glitter. Just a quiet promise in the form of cardboard and tape. I remembered the night he packed it. We had just come home from Liam's birthday. Evelyn had given Maya the leftover slice of cake with no frosting. Not even a candle. Emma and Liam had slices with extra decorations. Maya didn't say anything that day. But when she came to Daniel and asked if she was really someone's cousin, something inside him shifted. That night, he printed out Maya's adoption papers. He found a photo from the day we signed them. A photo of him holding Maya in a hospital chair, her cheeks covered in cake, her arms wrapped tight around his neck. On the frame he wrote, "Day 1 Dad" in gold marker. He slid it into the box along with a letter. He didn't show me what he wrote. He only said, "If she ever makes Maya feel like she doesn't belong again, Maya can decide when to give this to her." He had handed Maya the box gently and said, "Only if you feel ready. Only if it happens again." Now, on the way home from Christmas brunch, Maya held that same box in her lap. Her other hand clutched the lavender candle Evelyn had given her. She looked out the window, quiet and still. I could see in the rearview mirror that Daniel was watching her too. Then softly she asked, "Is Grandma mad at me?" I reached for her hand, but Daniel spoke first. "No, sweetheart," he said. "Grandma just forgot something important. But I think she's about to remember." Maya looked down at the red box, nodded once and said, "Then I want to give it to her tomorrow." That was the moment I knew. This wasn't going to be one of those things we brushed off. It wasn't going to be another lesson in patience or pretending everything was fine. Something had changed in her. And maybe in us too. When we got home, I helped Maya out of the car. She still held both the candle and the box like they were made of glass. Fragile but important. Daniel carried the leftover cookies, but his eyes never left Maya. She walked inside, quiet but certain. No tears. No questions. Just a calm, steady focus. Like she already knew what had to be done. I asked if she wanted to take a bath or watch a movie. She shook her head and said, "I just want to get ready for tomorrow." Froze. Tomorrow. She looked up and said it like it was obvious. Brunch at Grandma's. I'm giving her the box. That was when my breath caught. Not because I was afraid, but because I saw something in her I hadn't seen before. Strength. Not loud, not angry. Just solid. Certain. Later that night, Daniel came into Maya's room as I was brushing her hair. She looked up and asked, "Can I still give it to her?" He nodded. "It's your choice, Maya. I told you that from the beginning." She smiled. Not the wide, bubbly grin she gave when we took her to the zoo or promised ice cream. This smile was smaller, focused, like she understood the weight of what she was carrying. After she went to sleep, I finally asked Daniel what the letter said. He looked tired, as if he'd been holding something in for years. He sat down at the kitchen table and told me. "It was after Liam's birthday," he said. "When she got that plain slice of cake and asked me if she was really someone's cousin, I knew it had gone too far." He had gone into his office that night, printed the papers again and started writing. "I didn't want to make it a fight," he said. "I didn't want to drag you into another argument. But I needed Maya to feel like someone was standing with her. I wanted her to know she had something to hold on to. Something that said, "You belong." I felt tears sting the back of my eyes. For years I had wished he would speak up. And here he was, having done it in silence. Giving Maya not a confrontation but a voice. A way to say, "Enough." The next morning Maya got dressed like it was picture day. She wore the same gold dress from Christmas and redid her curls. She picked the glittery headband she had worn on the day of her adoption celebration. She didn't say it was for luck. She didn't have to. He knew. In the car, she held the red box on her lap with both hands. No fidgeting. No nerves. Just steady. When we arrived at Evelyn's house, everything looked the same. The same oversized wreath on the door. The same scent of cinnamon and ham floating in the air. The same polite greetings and hollow smiles. But something felt different. Not in the room. In us. We weren't walking in as outsiders anymore. We weren't asking to be seen. We came with truth. We came with Maya. And Maya came with the box. The dining room looked just like it always did. A long table dressed in ivory cloth, golden cutlery lined up perfectly beside china plates, and tall glasses sparkling under the chandelier light. Evelyn moved between guests like a hostess in a holiday magazine spread, laughing too loud, complimenting Emma's dress 3 separate times, and making sure everyone had enough cinnamon rolls. Everyone except Maya. She didn't mention Maya's dress, didn't ask if she wanted more juice, didn't look her way more than once. But Maya didn't flinch. She sat calmly at the end of the table, her gold dress shining quietly under the morning light, the red box still in her lap. She barely touched her food. I could see her watching. Not waiting. Just watching. And I was watching her. After the plates were cleared, Evelyn began passing out little holiday favors she'd prepared for the kids. Emma got a charm bracelet in a pink velvet pouch. Liam got a box set of sports cards. She made sure to announce each gift loudly enough for the entire table to hear. Then, with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, she looked down the table and said, "And Maya, I have something small for you, sweetheart." She handed over a paper bag with a ribbon. Inside was a single pair of fuzzy socks with snowflakes on them. "Didn't want you to feel completely left out," she added, as if that were kindness. Maya took the bag and looked at the socks. She didn't say thank you. She didn't smile. She placed the socks neatly beside her plate. Then she stood up. First, no one noticed. The adults were chatting and the kids were trading stories about school. Then Maya walked around the table, small, graceful, and completely silent, and stopped right in front of Evelyn's chair. Evelyn looked down, her expression puzzled. "Grandma," Maya said clearly, her voice soft but firm, "Dad told me to give this to you if you ever ignored me again." She placed the box gently in front of Evelyn and stepped back without another word. For a moment no one moved. Daniel reached under the table and gripped my hand. My heart beat so loudly I thought someone might hear it. Evelyn laughed nervously. "What's this, sweetheart?" Maya didn't answer. She just sat back down at her seat and folded her hands in her lap. Evelyn picked up the box. She examined it like she expected a prank. She turned it slowly, raising an eyebrow as she peeled off the red paper. Her smile faded. The moment she opened the lid, the room shifted. On top, sitting inside white tissue paper, was the framed photo, Daniel holding Maya on the day of her adoption. Her face was smudged with cake, her arms around his neck. At the bottom of the frame, in shimmering gold, it read, "Day 1 Dad." Beneath the photo was a sealed envelope. Evelyn's hands trembled slightly as she pulled it out and unfolded the letter. She began reading silently. Her mouth moved, but no sound came. The more she read, the more her face fell. Her eyes darted from line to line. The letter was written in Daniel's handwriting. His words were clear and heavy. "Mom, if you're reading this, it means you've hurt my daughter again. Not just mine by love, but mine by law, by promise, and by choice. I've watched you treat her like an outsider. Hoped you'd change. I hoped you'd open your heart. But if she ever had to give you this box, it means she saw it too. That you never saw her as real. Maya is my daughter. She is your granddaughter. And if you cannot love her equally, you do not love me. I will not allow her to grow up believing she must earn her place here. She already belongs. If you cannot accept that, then you are no longer welcome in our home or in our lives. Evelyn's fingers loosened, and the letter slid from her hand onto the table. Her face was pale. She looked around the room, searching for someone to explain, to rescue her from the weight of her own actions. But no one moved. No one spoke. And then suddenly she let out a sharp, broken scream. Not a sob. Not a cry. A scream that ripped through the polished silence like shattered glass. She stood so quickly that her chair screeched against the floor. Emma flinched. Liam dropped his cookie. Evelyn backed away from the table, her eyes wide, voice trembling. I can't believe you'd humiliate me like this, she hissed. Daniel stood slowly. We didn't humiliate you, he said. You did that all by yourself. Evelyn's eyes narrowed, and she turned toward me. This is your doing, she snapped. You turned him against his own mother. I stood too. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't have to. No, I said calmly. Maya gave you a gift. The chance to see her. You chose not to. The room fell silent again. All you could hear was the fireplace crackling. Maya sat still, her hands folded, her expression calm. Not afraid. Not confused. Just watching. Daniel turned to her and held out his hand. Ready to go. She nodded. We grabbed our coats. I helped Maya into hers. No one stopped us. No one said goodbye. We walked out, the three of us, leaving behind the perfect table, the glittering decorations, and a family that had always kept us just outside the circle. In the car, Maya looked straight ahead. After a moment, she whispered, Do you think she read the whole letter? Daniel met her eyes in the rearview mirror and said, Every single word. Maya gave a tiny smile. Not big, not proud. Just enough to show something inside her had settled. Not because Evelyn had changed, but because Maya no longer needed her to. We didn't go back after that day. No more birthday parties. No more holiday dinners with empty chairs and loud laughter that made Maya feel small. There were no follow-up calls from Evelyn. No dramatic apologies or angry texts. Just silence. But it wasn't an absence that hurt. It was a silence that healed. At first, I expected Maya to ask about her. I thought there would be questions, maybe even sadness, but none came. What arrived instead was something quieter. Freedom. Maya stopped watching the door at family events. She stopped wondering why her name wasn't on the list for matching crafts, or why her plate didn't have her name in gold. She stopped comparing herself to Emma or Liam. She started being fully present, fully herself, and I started to breathe again. One afternoon, a week after Christmas, a small padded envelope arrived in the mail. It was addressed to Maya, the handwriting large and looping. I opened it with her at the kitchen counter. Inside was a bracelet. Silver with a tiny heart charm that caught the light when it turned. Tucked alongside it was a handwritten note. It read, I'm sorry Grandma was mean. You're my cousin forever. I picked this with my allowance. Love, Emma. Maya didn't say anything at first. She read the note twice. Then she slipped the bracelet onto her wrist like it belonged there. She didn't ask if she could wear it every day. She just did. That small act, quiet and thoughtful, meant more than a dozen wrapped gifts ever could. It told Maya she had been seen, chosen, and for the first time not by me or Daniel, but by someone who mattered in that other world, the one that had always felt close to her. Daniel noticed too. He held the note in his hands for a long time. She didn't have to do this, he said. That's what makes it matter. There was something different in him too. For years, he had carried a quiet guilt. Guilt for not speaking up. For hoping the gap between his mother and daughter would magically close. For watching Maya get smaller and quieter at every family event. But since that brunch, something inside him had shifted. I caught him one night sitting on the edge of Maya's bed, just watching her sleep. Her bracelet sparkled under the dim glow of her nightlight. He didn't say anything at first, just watched her. Then he looked at me and said, "I should have done it sooner." I shook my head. "You did it exactly when she needed you to." That winter we started new traditions. Smaller ones. Slower. More intentional. Maya helped us bake cookies for neighbors. We built pillow forts and had movie nights in pajamas. There were no matching outfits. No expensive gifts. Just warmth. Just presence. We didn't try to replace what we'd lost. We simply focused on what was real. People talk about cutting off toxic family like it's easy. Like you draw a line and walk away clean. It's not like that. It stings. Even when it's necessary. Even when you're right. But what hurts more is watching your child shrink, quietly and repeatedly, just to protect someone else's comfort. I won't do that again. I won't ask Maya to swallow silence just to make a room easier for someone else. That day at Evelyn's table wasn't about making a scene. It wasn't about drama or revenge. It was about Maya standing up in a space that had always made her feel invisible and finally saying, "I'm here." Not with noise. Not with anger. But with clarity. With purpose. And with love. Maya never talks about the box anymore. She doesn't need to. But I kept it. It's in my drawer, next to her first baby shoes and the hospital bracelet from the day she was born. I keep it not to remember the pain, but to remember the power. The power of a girl who didn't wait for permission to take up space. The quiet courage it takes to stand up when no one else will. She's only 7. But she taught us everything. That family isn't about blood or approval or long tables with perfect centerpieces. It's about who shows up when it matters. Who protects you when it's hard. Who says without hesitation, "You belong." And because Maya claimed that truth for herself, she gave it to us too. Winter melted into spring, and still, Evelyn never called. She didn't write. She didn't ask to explain. For someone who had once dominated every family gathering, her absence left surprisingly little behind. No one reached out on her behalf. No one asked where we'd gone. The circle we had tried so hard to be part of closed quietly without us. And still we didn't regret leaving. Not once. Maya, more than anyone, blossomed in the space that was finally hers. There were no more strained smiles or hopeful glances toward someone who never truly saw her. Instead, there were mornings of pancake breakfasts, afternoons of painting together on the porch, and nights when her laughter filled every corner of the house. Her golden dress hung in her closet, and sometimes she would pull it out and spin in front of the mirror, not to impress anyone, but because she loved how it made her feel. I would watch her and realize just how much she had carried for someone so young. Daniel noticed it too. He became more present, more protective in a quiet way. Not overbearing, just steady. When Maya scraped her knee at the park, he didn't just help her up. He listened as she explained how she tried to climb higher than before. "You were brave," he told her. She smiled and said, "I learned that from you." One evening, Maya sat with Daniel on the couch, the silver bracelet from Emma still around her wrist. She asked, "Do you think Grandma misses us?" Daniel thought for a long moment before answering. "Maybe," he said. "But missing someone doesn't always mean they're ready to change." Maya nodded. "I don't need her to change," she said. "I just wanted her to see me." That was the whole truth, spoken plainly by a child. She hadn't wanted revenge. She hadn't even wanted an apology. She just wanted to be seen. And when she realized Evelyn wouldn't do that, she chose herself instead. That summer, we hosted a small family barbecue at our house. Just a few close friends and neighbors, a couple of Daniel's cousins who had quietly stayed in touch. Emma came too, running up the driveway with a bag of board games and a huge smile. She and Maya disappeared into the backyard for hours, their laughter echoing through the trees. Later that night, as the sky turned orange and the fireflies came out, Emma sat beside Maya on the swing. I watched from the kitchen window as they whispered and giggled like they'd never been apart. At one point, Emma leaned her head on Maya's shoulder and said something that made Maya stop swinging. I saw her nod, slow and certain. She looked out across the yard, her chin raised slightly, eyes calm. I don't know what was said. I didn't ask. Because whatever it was, it belonged to them. It wasn't about Evelyn. It wasn't about the box. It wasn't about the absence of something broken. It was about the presence of something real. Later, when I tucked Maya into bed, I asked if she'd had a good day. It was perfect, she whispered. Even better than Christmas. I smiled, brushing a curl from her forehead. What made it better? Maya looked up at me, eyes steady. No one had to pretend today. That was it. That was everything. The sparkle in her voice. The peace in her breath. The strength in her silence. A little girl in a gold dress had walked into a room one day and changed everything. Not with anger but with honesty. Not with shouting but with truth. And when the room couldn't hold her truth, she didn't shrink to fit inside it. Left. Proud. Quiet. Whole. That box, now resting in the drawer beside her baby shoes, isn't a symbol of pain anymore. It's a symbol of choice. Of knowing when to stay silent and when to speak. Of knowing when a seat at the table is no longer worth asking for. And of having the courage to walk away when it's clear you'll never be truly welcome. Maya is still only 7. But her voice echoed louder than any adult's that day. Because sometimes, the smallest voice is the one that carries the loudest truth.